bodies, they are present, but now you can't expect them to talk to you using language. They are not embodied. So now if we're expecting communication from them in using language, it's like we're shorting the exchange. But now if there are actual tools, it's like you give them that space to communicate with you. I think that's the best way of explaining it.
Thank you so much, Gogo. That was a beautifully clear explanation of what tarot reading is. I myself have done, I think it's 2 readings with you, Gogo. I think it's 1 or 2. And, you know, for the skeptics...
2 half readings that
And I must say they were very on point. I myself, yes, Togozani. I myself am also an avid follower of tarot. I have some of my favorite readers that I watch almost weekly, and you know, I know this is another one just off the top, you know, but what do we say to some of this? Am I saying this English word right? This skeptics. What do we say to some of the skeptics out there, you know, who, you know, we're on this mission and we're decolonizing knowledge and we're just in the process as Africans of just coming back to who we are. When faced, you know, with some questions or skepticism around such practices, how does one respond, if any response to such skeptics?
You know, with the skeptic, I think it's just a readiness thing. Honestly, like everyone is just on their own journey, and as much as you can't force someone into readiness, I think all you can really do is just show a person the magic of whatever it is that you do, and you just keep on your path. Like, I feel like we miss out so much. We miss out on our own expansion so much by just focusing on skeptics and trying to pull skeptics in. This Christian paradigm of saving souls, it's very undermining. It's very, very undermining. And you find that the message is not even coming through to the person because they don't like that undermining nature of, oh, I'm illuminating you, or I'm teaching you, or I'm showing you something, because the underlying narrative there is that you don't know and I know.
Oh,
so I think that is the main issue. If somebody is a skeptic, it's probably because they are not in a time and a space in their life where this has to make sense. They are not ready, and that's okay. But when they are ready, all that information will be ready and available, because wherever we are in our different journeys have made such a contribution that whoever catches up or whoever comes up behind us is going to be building on a strong foundation already. I personally feel like we waste energy by trying to pull some weight in and trying to pull people in and trying to, hey, there's something you're not seeing. Here's this, here's that. Because whatever their reason for being here is, between that person and their ancestral guides, it's not their space. They are not in a time where that is necessary for them. But the right people, your tribe will always find you, and the people who know the value of what you do and who recognize it, they will find you. And I feel like that's all that matters, because alignment is not pushing anyone into anything. It's not pushing anyone into, it's not even enlightening everyone. It should just be a thing that's available. And when it calls to that person and it speaks to them, then they go in that direction. I hope that's making sense.
So, Rosani, that was the perfect answer. That was the perfect answer. You know, it reminds me of law of attraction, you know, like where law of attraction says that we should not be anti something, but to be pro something. And that's really, you know, I took a lot of that from what you're saying. So instead of, you know, using energy to convince people, we're basically saying, Guti, when that person is ready to receive that knowledge or that information or that communication will be the right time.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Tell me, Bruha Tembi, how is it that you came to practice these crafts, these gifts, please?
So, You know, with me personally, I've always known that I had specific spiritual gifts, like a calling I had to attend to. And in the beginning, I struggled. I struggled a lot with figuring it out and accessing it. I also struggled with mental illness for the bulk of my life, to the point of being institutionalized in a psychiatric facility for this. And that is when I realized how much some of the mainstream models of healing are failing us. In that it was more a process of suppression and control of the problem than it was a process of resolving, curing, and uprooting the issue. It was more a regulation and control of it instead of completely getting rid of it. So I started looking to spirituality for answers, and that is where my calling caught up with me again. Because I feel like I've been running for the longest time. I've been running and running and running. And initially, I believed that I could get away with doing energy work through music. Because how rap is still incantation and prayer work as a tool for lining up and calibrating the energy body using frequency. Like, that's where I was. I was like, yeah, this is how I'm going to use my gift. This is what I'm going to do. I don't have to go through this and that and that. You know how it goes. And then I stumbled on tarot. But when I stumbled on tarot, it was in a very tough time in my life. It kept popping up, but it was in a very tough space in my life where it helped me. It helped me make sense of things, put all the puzzle pieces back together again. Tarot helped me understand my own spirituality and pick myself back up from the ground. And all I wanted to do after that was to give that same grace to the people around me. And to me, my cards were my bones. It was my way of deciphering and decoding what is happening energetically. And so for me, it felt like a breakthrough. So from then on, I started with reading. I started reading close friends and family. You know, I was out there online reading everybody. Who wants the reading? And then, you know, a close friend, he was like, invited me to an event. He was like, you know, I've got this event. Do you want to come through, do your reading? Just so you could practice and get comfortable with reading strangers. And I was like, yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Yeah. And from there on, things just took off. Because I saw 2 people turned into 5 clients, turned into 10 clients, turned into 50 people. And these were people who were recognizing the value of this energy work, like the shift and the change that this work was doing in their own lives. Like, they couldn't deny that. They were like, listen, this stuff is crazy. And from there, it became this value exchange that it has become today. And I never want people to feel like, okay, so this means that I also don't have to TASA, or I don't have to go through the initiation process. Because when we talk the truth, I did go through an initiation. Mine might have been unconventional. Mine might have been a water one, but there were so many difficulties and so many struggles on the way that were placed there strategically so that I could find this. That it would be unfair to then say something like, but we're not going to recognize you because you're not doing this the way that we are familiar with. At the same time, when you come for a reading, these are real deceased people who come through, people who you know. So I think for me that was just another big argument. But when it comes down to the work, I feel like I help people move up the vibrational scale and learn how to do it themselves, as this is what internal work is essentially about. This is what helped me to change my life around. My elders were not sitting there saying, Tembi, we'll do everything for you. They were like, if you want to be homeless, you go and be homeless. But if you want to get up and work and do something about your life, we're gonna stand with you. We're going to stand with you and we'll make things happen. And the minute that I stood up and I was like, okay, so I'm having some problems and I understand what those problems are, and now I'm taking a stand to actually curing them. Like, I'm not being passive in my own healing process. Like, I'm not going to someone and expecting someone to heal me. That's when I started seeing a change. That's when I started seeing a difference. And even with all the clients, it's just that thing of, do not be passive in your own healing. Participate, because that's when you really see results.
Some powerful, powerful, powerful words from Bruha Thembi on the Wealth and Wellness Show. If you've just joined us, my name is Lex LaFoy. You are on the Wealth and Wellness Show every Monday between 7 and 8 p.m. We are talking to Bruha Thembi, who is an energy healer and a tarot reader. And if you don't know, Bruha Thembi actually receives dozens of testimonials daily on her Facebook. I mean, I'm her friend on Facebook, and all I see on her page are just testimonials on testimonials. And it's so beautiful to see how your work is opening more and more doors. Also, as young people, how we are normalizing, we are naturalizing healing into our lives once again. You know, for a long time, it was thought of as an older people thing, or only a specific type of person thing, you know?
Yeah.
And these days we're observing how our elders, how our guides are really just, you know, coming through by the hundreds, by the thousands on some of the most so-called unassuming channels, you know, because people seem to think that healers are perfect people, and it's not about that. It's people, like Bruha Thembi has said, people who are willing to do the work, you know. And
Lex, can I tell you, I feel like on that line of healers go through the worst. Like, because now you can imagine that you can't really do something without, you need practical experience, right? We go to school so that we can learn to do something. We don't just jump into it. So I feel like with every single healer I've met, there's not one single healer who has not been through the worst. And I feel like that's part of the training. Imagine being a doctor who has never had the practical experience, or who has never had, okay, that example isn't working. But where I was going at with that is someone who has struggled with mental illness, for example, is the best person to help another one to overcome their own mental illness.
Yes.
If that's making sense.
I love that. I love how the chosen are chosen. I love how the called are called. I think it's such a beautiful process. I mean, many of my healer friends, we've spoken about this, where the time of their calling will come after the most painful, the most broken. I mean, with myself as well, you know, I have this joke with myself to say, when I got my calling dream, it was like literally the day after I just was broken, just like heart down, man down, energy down. And next morning I was just on some, okay. And now I mean, this show is not about me, but I'm just, I'm loving the answers that Bruha Thembi is giving us, you know, to say, when we see healers, we must acknowledge that healers are people who are not guessing the depth of pain and brokenness. These are people who themselves, ourselves, go through brokenness, go through pain, so that when it is time to assist others in the healing process, you are speaking from experience, Gogo. You're not speaking theoretically, Nje. Okay, so we only have 8 minutes. I wish this conversation could go on for so much longer, but I'm gonna have to be intelligent with these 8 minutes. I'm gonna try and fit in one or two quick questions, and then I've got Nate in studio who's also got a question or a comment that we'll bring in before you leave us.
All right.
I'd just like to understand, please, Gogo, approximately how much do your services cost, and how frequently do you recommend that people consult, please?
So accessibility is very, 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 very important. So even my own people, they were like, you're not about to charge regular tarot breaks. My tarot is a virtual session which can last for an hour to an hour 30 minutes. And then I know there are people that kind of feel like, that's still too much. So I also do provide audio file readings. It's just an audio file, so it's like a 30-minute audio file explaining and breaking everything down, and that's like $200. And I usually recommend people to consult once their elders have come forward with communication. So in terms of dreams, directions, signs, and so on. Like for some it takes months, others it takes weeks. But usually some people's elders don't like a third-party intervention. They don't like their people to be so dependent on somebody else to keep interpreting. So the only clients that I see often are the clients I do reconditioning work with. The ones who come back and say, okay, you know what, now I'm ready to do this internal work, let's do it. These are the ones that I see once a month, and this is for tracking their progress and making sure that they are progressing well. So this is reorienting the self. Because their mental work, it's like that's something that you can't expect your elders to do for you. Yes.
I know you're dropping bars today.
Bars, like rhyme, punchline.
Yo, I know this. I wish our listeners who are listening right now can just, please, fam, I hope you value this information, this knowledge that is being shared today by Bruha Tembi. This is not your ordinary. This is not your usual. This is your super extraordinary, supernatural, amazing. I have one more question, but I'm gonna bring in Nate, who is a fellow DYR radio presenter, and he's been so kind to sit with me today, and I see he's itching to ask you a question, Gogo. One moment as we bring on Nate. Hey, Nate.
All right.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm good, and you?
I am well.
So I have a question. Now, I hope this doesn't offend you or anything like that. I'm not meaning for it to offend you or anything like that. But I just want to know, so obviously you're familiar with a medium, right? Which is a person that will help you communicate with past ones and loved ones and stuff like that. So I wanted to know, obviously you do spiritual healing and energy healing and stuff like that, with tarot cards being very spiritual and stuff like that. So where would you draw the line between you and a medium for like listeners out there that wouldn't know whether to come to you or to come to a medium? Are you, with your tarot cards, do you also get past ones and stuff that come through, or is that more of a medium perspective? And have you ever been able to dive in to that sort of medium spirituality in terms of talking to past ones?
To the deceased.
Yes.
Yes. So, just going into the African context of this, like our spirituality is not isolated from ancestry. In my tarot, I always, like minimum, you will get 3 people. Usually these 3 people are your main guides, and they are the ones that facilitate the communication. So I would say the difference between me and a medium would probably be the fact that I'm using a divination tool, and there are mediums that the intuitive faculty is so developed that they are able to channel the deceased just like that. For me, I always get like a minimum of like 3 people. So I don't know if that's regular tarot or not, but we definitely have that in there. And where would I draw the line? With us, you know how back in the day, prior or pre-Christianity, black people used to connect, how we used to connect to God was through our ancestors. So it's not to say that every time you do ancestral veneration, you're praying to your ancestors. It's just a means to connecting to divine or with divine intelligence. So now that mediumship element, you can't leave it out. I hope I'm making sense. It goes with the territory, yes. My tarot, I can't really isolate from that, because I've noticed that many times the clients that do come forward are clients who actually do want to know that, who's on the paternal side, who's on the maternal side, what are they saying? Because those are the people that actually make that information accessible. I can't access your energy field without your personal guides, your personal spiritual guides making that available to me.
Ah, okay. Perfect. And if you allow me, one more quick question. With regards to, you said, like, obviously you get a minimum of 3 people that come through normally. Are you able to determine and block out which people come through? Is there like more? I know that a few people have said that there's normally a stronger presence that normally tends to come through, and that one is the dominant one. But are you able to choose and like block out who comes through so that you can get the person that the person you're reading specifically wants?
Yes, no, I never do that. Usually they will come through and the questions are what then guides the rest of the session. So a person will usually say something like, oh, I really was hoping my mother would come through. I wanted to connect with my mother. And then they're asking questions that actually draws that energy in. So I've never experienced any instance where I had to like block out or no. Like whatever comes out for me. And then I'll explain, okay, the most prominent energy is this, the most prominent this, and then you just literally, I feel like as a tarot reader, you're a messenger. You're like a hermit. You're just communicating. You don't really have the power to move the energy around and say, hey, you're not welcome in here.
Yeah.
You know, VIP, where's your card or anything like that. The information comes out, and then you need to do a good job at delivering that information, because if there is something that you did not interpret correctly, listen, you're not going to feel okay until you do. And that call is not going to end.
Perfect. So, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Nate.
I'd love to just come in as the multi-cultural objective voice here for a second. So we're actually speaking the same language, all of us. I think Nate was using the words, what were you using when you were referring to ancestors or people who have passed? What were you using?
Now I'm going to forget. I'm not sure.
I think you completely blank. Those that have passed.
Yes, those that have passed or your
like that.
Previous loved ones and stuff like that. Yeah.
So on the one hand, we had, you know, the word those that have passed, and then we have Gogo Tembi, who was speaking about the elders or the ancestors. And it's such a beautiful moment for me to just say, guys, we are all talking about the same thing. We're speaking about, because we know life is eternal. We know that before we came here and after we leave here, we still gonna continue.
Exactly. It's so beautiful. And it's beautiful because it also just goes to show that whether you call divine intelligence the source, you call it the source, you call it God, you call it Buddha, there are so many names, but it's little streams and little rivers leading to the same sea. We're all headed to the same sea, except that we're using different languages and different terms and different tools.
I know we are one. We are one. We are one. We are all one. Yo, thank you so much, Gogo Tembi. Thank you so much, Bruha Tembi, for joining us this evening. It's been such a pleasure having you share knowledge with us this evening on what energy healing and tarot reading is all about. I hope the people after us don't mind. We've gone slightly over the hour, but this conversation just is too good.
It's too juicy.
It's juicy. Lastly, Bruha, may you please let our listeners know, how do they reach you? People out there who may want to contact you for consultations or readings.
Yes.
May you please just let them know how to get hold of you?
Yes, so people can find me on Instagram and Facebook. My handle is at Bruja with a J, Bruja_Tembi. So that's Bruja Tembi on both Facebook and Instagram. And for people who are like hermits and who are like, social media, they can just email. So that is Tembi at gmail.com.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Yo, thank you once again for making time to sit with us and share. Thank you so much, Tembi, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lex. Thank you, Nate. Lovely, lovely. This was amazing.
Awesome stuff. Stay well, Gogo.
All right. Thokozani.
Thokozani.